What is your message into AI right now?
To make India a better nation and to enable technology to make India leapfrog in the future.
Can we show the world the way of how AI can be implemented?
The diffusion is so enormous that every single Indian uses the power of AI to do transformational work.
You see a lot of adoption already in India.
The software sector has done very well. Our service companies have done very well. They've followed a particular model of deployment across the world.
India ready for that? For the kind of energy needed for AI?
The opportunity for India is that we've already built 280 gigawatts of renewable energy and we're on target to achieve 500 gigawatt by 2030.
We can achieve this Viksit Bharat target?
We need to become a $30+ trillion economy. Your GDP has to grow 9 times.
In 1991, India nearly ran out of foreign exchange. The government had to physically fly gold to the Bank of England to keep the lights on. 30 years later, India is the world's third largest startup ecosystem, has a payment infrastructure that India itself is now exporting to dozens of countries, and which the G20 under India's presidency formally held up as a model for the world, and is spoken about in the same breath as the great economic powers of the 21st century. The transformation didn't happen by accident. It took decisions, it took vision, and it took people in positions of real power who chose to push, even when pushing was uncomfortable. One of those people is with us today. This is TOI AIQ Talks. I'm Sonia Singh and you're watching TOI AIQ Talks, the series where we sit down with the architects of change to understand not just where we are, but how we actually got here and where we are heading next. Because understanding that arc from where India was to where it is going is at the very heart of what TOI AIQ Talks is about. Our guest today has spent more than a decade at the center of India's economic engine. As CEO of NITI Aayog, he was in the room where the blueprint for modern India was drawn. As India's G20 Sherpa, he carried that vision to the world's most powerful table. He is also the author of a new book, Smarter Than the Storm. And here is the book. So we'll talk about it also. Please welcome Amitabh Kant.
Thank you. Great pleasure being here with you.
Thank you. And also we have Mayank, a co-founder and CEO of ADROSONIC. Mayank, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Great pleasure.
Honored to be here. And
Oh no, my pleasure.
Amitabh sir, with newer technologies, the world is just kind of changing, I would say updating every 6 months. The pace of change now is just extraordinary. Do you think we can keep up with the pace of global north?
There's no other option. Well, India will have to accelerate the pace of its transformation, largely because this is foundational technology and is going to transform the world as it has never been done before. We are in the midst of several crises, actually. We are in the midst of conflicts across the world. We are in the midst of global supply chain breakdown. We are also in the midst of heat waves and climate complexes. But in the midst of all this, there's one productive force which is going to be very, very transformative and which is going to transform the lives of every single individual. And that is artificial intelligence. And it's important to focus on this because it'll embed every single sector. It'll be utilized to improve learning outcomes, health outcomes, nutritional standards, but it'll embed enterprises in a very big way. So it'll enhance productivity in a way no other technology has ever done. It took almost 7-8 decades for the Industrial Revolution to take place. It took almost 3 decades for computerization to embed. Even electricity took almost 5 decades to reach every single person. But artificial intelligence, the diffusion is at a very, very high order. The cost of artificial intelligence per token has fallen very radically, and the diffusion has already reached 53%. And that means that with every single model, you are seeing massive diffusion at lower cost. And it'll have a huge transformative impact on lives of citizens, on productivity, on enterprises. And therefore, India needs to be way, way ahead of many other countries of the world. Now, you asked me this question about whether India can surpass the global north. It's important to understand that in AI, there's a lot of global dependency. Almost 95% of the frontier models are coming in from the United States. Only 3% of the frontier models are coming from China and 2% from Europe. There's very little frontier models. But a huge amount of resources are being spent on frontier models. But frontier models need computing power. And that computing power is coming from one company, which is almost 75% of it is coming from NVIDIA. And NVIDIA needs chips. And chips are coming in from TSMC in Taiwan, or they are coming in from Samsung and SK Hynix from Korea. But the chips need lithography machines. And the lithography machine is coming in from Netherlands. And the lithography machines need specialized glasses which come in from Germany. So there's a lot of global interdependence. But the fuel for all this is data. And 20% of the global data comes from India. So you can't be that you control the whole chain, but you can control the fuel, you can control the talent. And if you read the latest Stanford AI Index, you find that it's the Indian talent which is driving much of AI. And actually, a lot of that talent is coming back to India for global capability centers and for new startups. This is the first time in 9 years that the Stanford AI Index has said that talent is coming back to India. So India has data, India has talent, and India has very progressive policies on AI. Our progressive policies are far more progressive than AI, than Europe and many other parts of the world. So you have progressive policies, you have data, you have talent, and then on top of that, you have digital public infrastructure. So in the long run, my view is that India will do very, very well in the field of AI. India will utilize all this talent, all this data, it'll utilize the culture that we built up of digital public infrastructure, but it'll do it in a different model than the global north, and we can talk about that in the coming time.
I read some excellent articles that you've written, and we'll talk about digital exhaust and DPI in detail. Before that, we just wanted to, let our viewers know about your excellent history and your starting maybe from Kerala, the first posting. I mean, how you've seen the transformation in India, and maybe till this day, and how you've added to India's transformation.
Well, I started my career in Kerala, and I was district collector in the northern part of Kerala, which is Calicut, where Vasco da Gama had landed and discovered India. And later I went on to become Kerala's tourism secretary. We built Kerala as God's own country. We opened up Kerala for its backwaters, its traditional architecture, its unique cuisine, its unique martial arts. We took it back to its roots and its cultural art forms. We differentiated Kerala from the rest of the world when we defined it as God's own country. And by bringing in houseboats, backwaters, Ayurveda, all this together, we said Kerala is different from anything else in the world. And that is why it's a unique product of great private-public partnership, great boutique resorts, and it's been rated as one of the 5 exotic paradises of the world. So I had this great pleasure of working in Kerala, and then I came to Government of India. I did the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. I was Secretary Industries, and later the CEO of NITI Aayog.
1947 independence and 2047 we are targeting to be a developed nation. So does India's capability in technology give you that confidence that we can achieve this Viksit Bharat target?
So we must understand what we mean by Viksit Bharat. We are a $4 trillion economy. And Viksit Bharat means that in the next 22 years, by the time we achieve 2047, it's 21 years really now, we are in 2026 already, we need to become a $30 plus trillion economy. I mean, from 4 trillion to a $30 plus trillion economy, and that means that your GDP has to grow 9 times, your per capita income has to grow 8 times, your manufacturing has to grow 16 times. And for all that to happen, a lot of hard work has to be put in. But more than hard work, our investment rates, our savings rate, our ability to attract foreign direct investment, and our ability to export to the rest of the world as a manufacturing nation, our ability to urbanize, all that is critical. It's a challenging task, but it means really that we have to grow at 9% plus year after year for the next 2.5 decades to be able to lift a very vast segments of our population above the poverty line.
From being the world's back office in IT, say in 90s, then to UPI, which we are now exporting to European countries, and now to AI. So how has India learned to adopt? And in AI, do you think you see a lot of adoption already in India? Are people very happy to adopt, or they are averse to change as they always were?
So first of all, India has largely grown on the back of the services sector. And that's been possible because India's software sector has done very well. Our service companies have done very well. They've followed a particular model of deployment across the world in terms of working with leading companies of the world, and they've made India proud. That model will increasingly get disrupted by artificial intelligence. And therefore, these companies will have to adapt to that and become AI factories of tomorrow, because the world will require some companies to get AI implemented, because these companies are very well versed in the workforce, in the work systems, in how the workflow takes place in different companies across the world. Now, AI can't be done in isolation. You need a technology partner. And therefore, these service companies have the great ability to be technology partners and actually lead the world in transformation as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. Enterprises, to get embedded in their workflow with AI, will require support from technology partners, and these service companies have the huge potential to do this. I'm saying this because India has earlier demonstrated its great ability to build the digital public infrastructure model, which is very different from the West. And that model was that in the Western part of the world, all data was controlled by big tech, whether it was Meta, whether it was Amazon, whether it was Microsoft, or whether it was Google. India built up an alternative model, and that was that 1.5 billion people have a digital identity. Then we opened bank accounts in between 2015 and 2017, 550 million bank accounts. We embedded them with both Aadhaar, that is the digital identity, and the mobile number. We started doing fast payments, then we did credit, then we did stock market transactions, then we did insurance, all within 30 seconds to 1 minute. And, this doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. So my view is that the western part of the world, the northern part of the world, is doing large language models. They are using massive computing power to create these large language models, which are very, very expensive. And over a period of time, you'll have to do far more sophisticated software with less computing power, intelligence will get commoditized, and therefore India will have to use intelligence with far less computing power, because computing powers are guzzlers of energy, of water, they do CO2 emissions. So we'll have to do a far more sustainable model using the strength of our software with less computing power. That is great India's ability.
So the sovereign compute, actually, do you think that should be the priority right now for India, especially when you talk about the digital exhaust? We are the ones who are making global LLMs smarter.
So my view is that by sovereign compute, my view is that India should create smaller models which are applicable on your mobile. We need to create very specialized models which can transform our education, our learning outcomes, our health, our nutritional standards. Because at the end of the day, AI has to be used to make human beings better. They should be able to use AI to transform lives of citizens. So India should be able to do specialized models. India should be able to do smaller models. India should be able to do a lot of more applications on the back of these models, rather than spend a lot of money on large language models. We need to create large language models in certain areas. But our strength should lie in using India's history, India's culture, India's values, India's philosophy. Otherwise, we'll tend to lose them. And we should be able to use our own data sets, provide computing power to our startups and to our students, and actually use all of India's data to build up our own models. That is important.
But the issue with startups is that Indian talent is still struggling with pilots. As you said, the frontier models are US based, the innovation hubs are mostly US and China. So here, where do you think, how can they compete with these frontier models? As you said, you make a smaller model, but do you think the government also should step in here?
So the government has already stepped in a very big way through the AI mission. It provides computing power at much lower cost than what it is available in US or Europe. It has opened up its data sets through AI Kosh, and it has supported about 11 models, large language models, to be supported by the government of India. So India government has done its bit. Now it's important for enterprise, private sector, to embed a lot of AI. Government can't be a driver of AI. In the north, in the global north, it's not government which is driving AI. AI is being driven by Anthropic. AI is being driven by Perplexity. AI is being driven by Open AI. It's the private sector which needs to drive AI. So many of our companies need to embed AI and actually do transformational work by using the power of AI to transform themselves and their workflows and actually enhance productivity.
So here I would want you to address our youngsters. Talent is huge in India. Yeah. We are the ones going to those frontier model companies and doing the real work. So what do you want to give them, your suggestion that you have the talent, you should be doing it here, do it well, make an Anthropic here, OpenAI here?
So first of all, let me just say that India's talent is the best in the world. I'm not saying this. Stanford AI Index report is saying that. And they are saying that India's talent is 2.8 times more than the average of the world. And therefore, India's talent is remarkable, and much of that talent actually is coming back from the United States for the first time to do AI models in India. And this is really unique. So my personal view is that all this young talent must use their energy, their dynamism, their vitality to do disruption in a very big way. In whichever area you work, kindly do transformational work by building small models, building specialized models, building large language models. Every single area, the world will get more and more specialized. So you need models in hospital, you need models in agriculture productivity, you need models for better learning outcomes, you need models to improve nutritional standards, you need models to track every single pregnant woman in India so that nutritional standard can improve, and you need models to improve massive improvement in agriculture productivity, and you need models for enterprise AI. All this will come from the young talent. All of you will have to do this. And the second thing I really feel is that we need to bring AI courses at the school level. We need to start teaching our students from class 5th onwards the power of artificial intelligence so that they become really, the young students' ability to grasp AI is enormous. And therefore, they should start using all the AI models today. You don't need to do coding. Claude will do the coding for you. I didn't know coding. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. But using the power of Claude, I can do create my own coding. And therefore, the power of AI is really unique, and all of you must use this power using Indian data sets so that India benefits from your great knowledge and expertise.
Absolutely, and 16 and 18-year-olds are doing wonders in AI space, catching the light there. Also, there's a lot of confusion about we have talent, but the continuous talent skill building that is required to be in touch with AI and in sync with AI. You've always rejected the job displacement fears after AI. With Ford, coming back to the engineers, or maybe the bank in Australia getting back their own employees saying that AI didn't do well over there. So are we still in an experimental stage over there? And also, if we don't adapt, then we become redundant. That is also there. So what is your message to the youth who are into AI right now?
So first and foremost, every time you've had a disruption, whether you've had industrial revolution, or whether you had electricity, or whether you had computerization, exactly the same fears were raised. But in reality, technology ends up creating more and more jobs, many more jobs, but they create jobs of a different variety. India needs more data scientists, India needs more machine learners, India needs more prompt engineers, India needs more AI engineers. There's a massive, massive shortage of all that. So we'll create new kinds of jobs. Actually, we'll be creating jobs for the rest of the world in this field. And therefore, the course curriculum in every single university, every single college, every single engineering institution, every single management institution must be modified to create great AI experts of tomorrow. It's actually a multidisciplinary sector, and therefore, we must learn the power of our ability to use this technology to make India a better nation and to enable technology to make India leapfrog in the future. And there'll be many, many more jobs. And all these jobs will be available to you. But there'll be jobs of a different variety, and you must equip yourself for this new technology of tomorrow.
Before I get Mayank in, one last question about the DPI. Can you also give us an assessment about the India's AI mission? How do you feel it currently? Also, you've always been talking about the inequality gap between, like you talked just now, about the urban elite versus the rural, be it healthcare, be it nutrition, be it their, education. So do you think we need some policy mechanism changes also there, or just these small models?
No. So first of all, I must say that, unlike the global north, which is spending billions and billions of dollars on creating large language models, that should not be our objective. The days of large language models will end. The days of creating small models on top of these large language models has begun. And AI will not be fit for purpose in the context of India if we are not making it multilingual. If it is not able to deal with the many languages of India, many dialects of India. AI will not be fit for purpose if it is not low bandwidth. AI will not be fit for purpose if we are not able to do edge AI on top of mobiles. AI will not be fit for purpose if we are not able to use the power of AI to do better drug discovery. AI will not be fit for purpose if we are not able to use it to transform lives of citizens in rural areas and to improve learning outcomes, health outcomes, and nutritional standards. So my view is, instead of AI creating divides of inequality in society, AI should be a very powerful tool to raise vast segments of population in terms of their improvement in Human Development Index.
Local AI, I would call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mayank, I would like to get you here. You've been building in the AI space. Anything you would want to ask Amitabh, sir?
Yeah. So first things, so thanks for sharing this, visionary, thought leadership here. My question to you, sir, is that, as you had said that, US and China are primarily the leading in terms of building the frontier AI model. And India in the service side, on the software industry side, we have always led the world in terms of, getting the implementing, whether it was cloud or whether it was, digital transformation, we have led the world. Where does you think the greatest opportunity lies for, the India in terms of leading the AI? Is it that we can go and lead in terms of getting AI adopted? Because technology is there, but it will get benefit only when it is actually being used across the different industry. So my first question is this: in terms of the global context, can we lead? Can we show the world the way of how AI can be implemented? And my second question is that, can we be the frontier in terms of adopting AI? What you were saying, how India can adopt, just like how we did in terms of the UPI, that world is looking at us, that how we are, the QR code is there with every vendor on the streets, and we have completely democratized it. So is that where you see India can have the opportunity to lead in the world now?
So, first and foremost, I'd say that the race is never, ever won by the first mover. You can look at the history of technology and see this, that, the internet, the first company which started,
Ultranet or something, yeah.
it was Alta Vista. Alta Vista went bust. Google took it over. And, so the first computer was not done by Apple. It was done by a person called Clive Osborne. He went bust, but Steve Jobs of Apple took it over, designed it. Many other people got in. Microsoft benefited. So, technology has many waves. But to my mind, the most important thing about technology is your ability to do technology diffusion. Are you able to diffuse this technology amongst the people of India? Are you able to spread it into the minds of 1.4 billion people of India? Are you able to spread it across your education institutions of India? Are you able to put it in the schools of India? So that over a period of time, the diffusion is so enormous that every single Indian uses the power of AI to do transformational work. So technology diffusion is very important. Now, why I'm saying technology diffusion in India will work is because you have progressive policies, you have pro-innovation policies right now. The government of India has launched the AI mission. It's putting computing power in the hands of our startups and researchers. It's putting data sets. The important thing is putting out Indian data sets, making them open. Cleaning them, annotating them, putting out data sets is the most critical thing, so that a lot of work gets done on Indian data. And that is applicable to every single language of India. And that is why the work Sarvam has done is remarkable, because it is multilingual it's path-breaking. And I think you'll see many other Indian startups doing path-breaking work as we go along. But thirdly, the most important thing is that right now, AI is very, very expensive. The tokens are expensive. The large language models being built in USA are using massive computing power. What will happen is that the intelligence will get commoditized, and the intelligence will be available with better software and less computing power. What Indians should do is demonstrate the reasoning with better software and less of computing power. And that would mean that, today, AI is guzzling more energy more energy than the country of Japan. Its CO2 emission is more than the New York City. It is guzzling more water than the entire bottled industry of the world. So you need to make AI very, very climate friendly, and it has to be sustainable AI. A lot of work is going on that in different parts of the world. And the power of AI will also have to be used in terms of better forecasting, better warning, better knowledge on heat waves, and ensuring that AI becomes an agent and an instrument for better climate management. AI will work both ways. I mean, AI can be a very powerful tool for human beings for better climate of tomorrow. And we need to do that. So my view is that technology diffusion is important. Using better sophisticated software is important. Using the technological power of India is important. Making AI sustainable is important. All this can happen from India.
Thank you, sir. So you also mentioned about the talent that, we have the best talent. But the way AI is changing the aspect is like, the knowledge is being available now. So, earlier, in order to gain knowledge, like you mentioned about Claude is doing the coding. So it's more about the prompt engineering. It's more about asking the right question. So we see that the element of EQ is more needed in the current era rather than the element of IQ, because knowledge is readily available with the help of, all these models that is there. And that means that we need to make our talents ready, which is coming out of colleges or universities, in order to best use the AI. So say accountants coming out of the colleges or engineers coming out of the colleges need to have a different perspective so that they can use AI. And we need to make talent ready for the world, to lead the world, I will say. And here comes, no, the question I want to ask you is that there are three aspects of it. One is, the government, which is doing a lot in terms of, promoting it. Second is also the universities in terms of what course curriculum we are, teaching. Does that require change? And third is also about the responsibility on the enterprises or the private sector. So how do from where what I want to understand is that any entity, whether it's government or universities or the enterprises, can't solve this alone. There has to be some sort of coordination among the three. Whether the government sets the direction or university change the course or enterprise owns it more. How do you see, sir, this coming together? What's your view on this?
So the AI mission is meant to do exactly this, do transformational work across sectors. Now, important thing is that, if India is to grow into a $30+ trillion economy, you can't do it without technological leapfrogging. But technological leapfrogging doesn't come from government. Disruption doesn't happen from government. Growth does not happen from government. Government makes policies. But the growth happens from private sector. Growth happens when private sector does more and more of production and productivity. And therefore, like the service sector was driven by the private sector of India. And therefore, if AI has to be driven, it's the private enterprise which has to embed AI as a very integral part of enterprises in India. And I think Indian private sectors will have to be very key drivers of AI in the coming years. That's critical. Number two, I think the core, I talked about teaching AI from class 5th onwards to students, but the AI curriculum, the curriculum of India across engineering colleges, across management institutes, needs a radical shift and a radical change in favor of, because there's so much of disruption happening on a daily basis that younger people will be able to absorb it. So the course curriculum has to be done on a constant basis, and that is best left to IITs or triple IITs or to students. I mean, teaching them traditional knowledge of coding has no meaning now. And therefore, the vast amount of curriculum needs to be driven in terms of transforming at university level, at college level. And this needs to be done not merely in triple IITs and IITs, but across every single college, every single institution of India. And thirdly, my view is that India needs to put out a lot of more computing power. My view is that a lot of more computing power needs to be made available to our researchers and to our students.
Thank you, sir. And my next question is on the democratization of AI. The real benefit of AI will only come when it will be available for all, which you are saying that it is quite expensive at the moment, and mostly it is being experimented at this level when we are having this conversation in large corporates who can afford to have that kind of experiments. India have achieved a lot in terms of democratizing by whether it was UPI or Aadhaar or the digital identity aspect of it. How do you see, sir, that this AI can be used to create or to create an equal opportunities between the large enterprises, the MSME sector, or the public sector, or to a common man of India? So if you have to share your vision or your ideas around that can be shared with the corporates in terms of how we can democratize or work towards democratization of AI, what will be your?
So my view is very clear on that you need exactly like what we did with DPI. We created a layer on top of which everybody innovated. Private sector innovated on top of the layer, the digital layer. You'll have to do a DPI for AI in India. You'll have to create an open source model where digital public infrastructure on top of AI, and that'll be India's contribution to the world. That you create an AI layer on top of which everybody innovates. And therefore, a DPI for AI is really the future, and that is the only way you can make, we built up an open source, interoperable model. So what Indians will have to do is to spell out the reasoning, make it open source, and actually make it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Exactly how we made transactions absolutely zero fee. So Indians will have to do the disruption of making AI the cheapest source of intelligence available to mankind anywhere in the world. Large language models have become monopolies of today. ChatGPT was meant to be open source. It's not open source. It's a closed monopoly. It's a closed monopoly because of vast amounts of private capital, PE funds, venture capital has all gone into it, and they have to give returns. But India's model must be very, very different, and that's a DPI for AI model, which India must create in the coming days.
Yeah, and that will be the real benefit for
Yeah. And that can be the transformational work, because every single engineer will then be able to innovate on top of the AI layer and say that we've created. Why did UPI work in India? Because it was open source, it was interoperable, and it was globally possible to do it from Paris or Singapore or anywhere. Yeah. It had open APIs, and we need to do that. So much of, look at what the Chinese are doing. I mean, the Chinese did it at a fraction of the cost in token per millions. If you look at it, DeepSeek did earlier, but since then you've had this new model, which the Mythos model has been broken by AI in China, which has demonstrated that it can do very advanced cybersecurity at fraction of a cost, and that's simply because it's open source. So India will have to do much more of open source reasoning models in the days to come.
Yeah, and also, sir, you mentioned about we can go on the small language model for specific industry.
Yeah.
And because that will not require that
specialized models.
Specialized models.
And also smaller models.
Yes. And sir, one last question.
We should get out of this more, the large language models have been done. There's no point wasting huge amount of resources on large language models. We should know what are our challenges, and Indian entrepreneurs must know that this is the challenge I want to crack with a smaller model or a specialized model and deliver that to India.
Absolutely, sir. I'm mesmerized. This kind of thoughts can come only from a vision
like
you. My last question before I hand it over to Usamia is, the other thing I see when I work with corporates is people are experimenting with AI for like as a CEO, you're using Claude or you're using different forms. But when it goes to scale, because as you said, that data is the fuel, when it goes to scale, when I want to implement it, then there are a lot of element of trust comes in. can I implement this AI at a scale? Where do I need to put the human, judgment into place? And somewhere trust comes as a barrier in terms of, getting it implemented. So in from your view, when the technology is there and the human aspect is there, the trust is creating barrier, how the leaders, what is the message from you to the global, to the leaders who are leading in the AI field, that how can they remove this barrier of trust and adopt the technology seamlessly?
So I think a lot of work needs to be done on responsible AI. A lot of work needs to be done on ensuring that AI is for the betterment of humanity. A lot of work needs to be done in defining that certain parameters will not be crossed. It should not be that AI then becomes so powerful that it drives, uh, you know, on nuclear weapons, on defense issues, on cybersecurity issues. It becomes so powerful that it overtakes human beings. So you need to define those parameters. And that has to be done through a very responsible AI by putting all these innovators together. Some global body it has to be pro-innovation, but very light touch regulations will have to be brought in at one stage.
Yeah. And in that case, like how can we have some sort of, reforms that, how that coordination will work out?
It'll have to be global in nature. Much like you have a nuclear body, you need a global body which will you need innovation. Regulation will always be behind regulation. Innovation will always be ahead of regulation. So if you start putting too much of regulation, it will not be good. So allow people to innovate, but build some regulatory features within that innovation model. And that needs to be thought through at a global level. It can't be done by one country. Every country will have to be a participant in that.
So, few important points that have come out are that in AI, a DPI is extremely essential right now. Also, you said the private sector needs to do a lot more, which is required, and the universities need to be in a continuum of change in terms of correcting the AI curriculum. And like we see in IITs and all, they're still teaching probably the basics of computer in the computer science course right now. So, coming to your book, Smarter Than the Storm, you've spoken about that AI is an energy guzzler, like you just said. So, is India ready for that, for the kind of energy needed for AI?
So, what the book says is that it's a book with optimism. It's not it brings in hopes and aspirations of a more sustainable AI of the future. India is seeing a lot of investments through hyperscalers, Amazon, Microsoft, all the top company, Google. I mean, Google 15 billion, Amazon 32 billion, Microsoft, everyone, all the hyperscalers are putting in data centers in Vishakhapatnam. Now, it's important that we ensure that these data centers are built with renewable energy. We make sure that we recycle the water. We make sure that we are able to use their heat for different industries. We are able to use their cooling in a much better way to be transformative. A lot of work is happening across the world. It talks about different models about how different data centers across the world are being built in a sustainable manner. The opportunity for India is that we've already built 280 gigawatts of renewable energy and we're on target to achieve 500 gigawatt by 2030. So India should demonstrate to the rest of the world that it's possible to do data centers in a far more sustainable model and a far more sustainable way. And that is what the book talks about, and also says that the power of AI should actually be utilized to do transformative work in terms of forecasting for climate, so that disaster management should not take place, and so that we are able to build a better world of tomorrow through the power of AI.
There was this news of Virginia county where the schools were being told to switch off the lights now, and
Yeah.
because they needed so much energy.
Or look at Europe. I mean, this kind of heat wave has never been seen before. I mean, yeah, and those countries are not equipped for these kind of heat waves. So you need, and then on top of that, if you're going to use a lot of fossil fuel for data centers, you are actually going to make the world collapse. So it's this book is about forewarning. It's a book which is optimistic, but says that please use the power of renewable energy to drive these data centers.
Not only AI, I mean, would you, not only climate change, but the recommendations in the book, can they be also used for other industries and other players?
Yeah, so AI is a force for good. Every single industry will utilize it. Every single sector will be using the power of AI to do transformative work. But you need to do it in a sustainable manner. And that's why the opportunity for India is immense. India is climatically blessed. No other country has the climatic conditions which India has. India is possible to do use the power of renewable energy, crack water through electrolyzers, produce green hydrogen at the lowest cost, and actually go in for a post-industrial society which is not run by fossil fuel at all. You can be a global champion of a new industrial world of tomorrow which is driven by green hydrogen and ammonia in its liquid form. That is what the book talks about. Looking at a post-industrial society for India where India is India today imports 200 billion worth of fossil fuel. Your macroeconomics goes haywire when the West Asia crisis happens, and you are an importer of fossil fuel, oil, you are also an importer of gas, of LPG. All that can be transformed if you push for a post-industrial green hydrogen society of tomorrow.
You've been doing this for a long time now. Mayank, what is your takeaway as a CEO, the message that you've learned today from Sir?
I think it was really a transformative, listening to Sir here.
Yeah.
One key takeaway which I take, or the message for all the fellow CEOs are that that it's time now to look towards more sustainable mode of AI. And for that, what I mean that focusing on what Sir said, that focusing on the smaller language model. And even if you're serving to different industries, say for example, if you're serving manufacturing or insurance or banking, who can have a specific smaller language model that will compute less energy, and it will also give you a specific outcomes out of it. And the second core learning was towards the preparation of the talent. You need to prepare your talent, because the way I see is that one day it will be commoditized. And just like how computers are available in the office, or you have easy access to cloud or electricity, for example, AI will also be readily available. So availability of AI is not going to be the challenge, but how are you going to use that AI? For that, you need to have a workforce, a talent that you need to prepare. So I think as a CEOs, we need to invest in getting those talents ready, collaborate with the universities, contribute in whatever way we can in getting the workforce ready, so that we can adopt AI not only in India, but we can also show the world of how AI can be adapted to get the best outcome in best use case.
A lighter question in the end, in this last question. You had a lot of campaigns, and if you have to, in this era of AI, if you have to do an Incredible India campaign, how will you do it?
Well, Incredible India was about promoting and marketing India as a tourism destination.
Or any other campaign, if anything which is closer to your heart here.
Well, I would, you don't build brands every day. So I mean, Incredible India still has a lot of recall value. Yeah, God's honor. They have recall. I mean, a lot of resources have been spent. There's a huge recall value of Incredible India. We should do far more innovation around that same campaign. India needs to differentiate itself. A lot of work has happened in India. We've done transformative work. We should be able to project India as a modern, contemporary nation. There's no word which captures the beauty, the charm, the magnificence, and all the contradictions of India as the word incredible. So we should just stick to that and actually sustain that with far greater vigor, energy, and far greater dynamism.
Thank you so much, Amitabh sir, and thank you, Mayank, for the show. Thank you. TOI AIQ Talks exists because we believe the AI age deserves more than headlines. It deserves honest, informed, far-sighted conversation. And these conversations are building towards something bigger, the TOI AI Quotient Awards. Coming this September, the AIQ Awards are our way of putting a spotlight on the organizations and individuals who are not just talking about artificial intelligence, but genuinely building with it, solving real problems, creating real value, and helping India's AI story become one the world takes seriously. If that is you, if your business, your institution, or your team is doing work that deserves to be recognized, nominations are now open. Head to our website to nominate your organization today. Don't wait to be discovered, step forward.